Hi, my name is Richard Harvey, and I'm here to share a valuable asset I've picked up while studying to become certified as a teacher of English as a foreign language. I have a clear multiple subject teaching credential in California, and I have 10 years of teaching experience. I'm also an author and a consultant. I work in social and emotional learning, and I have a number of different books to my credit and smaller publications. And I'm interested to see what this article has to offer for teachers of English as a foreign language, because I have certain ways that I learned to write, and they've really come in handy. And I'm curious to see what it is that they want us to know. So the authors are um, Don Snow and Maxi and Campbell. And they have a book called More Than a Native English Speaker, that this excerpt, which is, it's not an excerpt, I should say, it's a chapter called Keeping Your Head Above Water, is written for people who are planning to teach writing to people who are studying English as a second language, and how to do it without getting buried, and how to do it with quality results. Let me go ahead and bring that article up now. What I'm going to do is share an annotated version of the article, and I'm just going to go to spaces that I felt that were the most valuable as we are learning about what keeps students engaged. First of all, this one here: by making writing a communicative activity, you increase students' interest in writing and your interest in what they write. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, but the idea is to get them writing about something that is of interest to them, that they want to communicate about, and also to get them to write something that you're interested in, maybe their culture or something like that. And it will give you motivation to respond to what they do, which is going to be a key in keeping them engaged in writing. Let me start off here. I like what they said here. We suggest that a writing course that stresses the message is more interesting than one that stresses form. I don't think anybody really wants to go over grammatical forms for hours. I think they want to tell a story. I agree. That's my experience with social and emotional learning and with most writing. The way that I get students that are not really writers to write is to get them start talking about their own stories. And then they have something to work with. They're not trying to start with a blank slate. They have material. Let's move down. These are different building blocks they suggest that could help students to begin writing. I remember when I was a little kid copying off of the blackboard at that time and just beginning to write in that way, and then moving to dictation. It gives you a chance in both cases to evaluate how the students are doing. Note taking is going to come in handy for people who are doing this as a professional, as a student, or just in general if they want to keep relationships thriving. This is building from the ground up. I think, different forms of writing. They talk about generating ideas. We're going to come up on a chart here that's going to break down the process. This is important when they write, observing their processes and responding to them. So you're seeing what they can and can't do as they're writing, but you're also responding to them so they know that you're actually engaged and you care about what they're writing, and they know that there's a purpose, that their work is valued, to keep them engaged. I really like this part here. They're talking about needs-based writing. So they introduced a lot of different types of writing. Dialogue writing, for instance, something could be writing a dialogue between you and a supervisor that you're going to ask for a raise, or you're going to check and make sure that the work that you're doing is of the quality that's expected, or where to learn and become better at. Stories are a great way to get people started. Using their story is key as they are trying to build the idea of getting things on paper. This pre-writing, noting ideas down, it could almost be something you want always for them to be working in English, if at all possible, but we could be open to letting students work in their own language if they can't think of the word and then translating it. So it gets them going. They can find the words in English and it will connect them to their existing knowledge. This is a modeling process. They're talking about introducing how to do anything and then having students respond and have students share their responses, business letters, personal letters, application letters and resumes, a lot of good information on how they should do it here. As it progresses in the chapter, there are more complicated forms of writing. So they're very good about providing simple activities and building up and get them to a point where they are strong writers. Models for writing, these are different ways of writing. Proofreading is a good thing to go through, and this is something where they're suggesting after they have a draft, sharing with each other. You want them to help each other and identify things that they can. Students who are emerging English writers and readers and speakers may not be able to do a lot for another student, but they may be able to do something, and it keeps them engaged in writing, in speaking, and thinking in English, the writing cycle. Rewriting, getting all those ideas down, putting it into a outline, making the outline into the draft, proofreading, having the student feedback, and then going into teacher feedback. They talk about how it's important to economize how much grammar and mechanics feedback students are getting. There definitely should be some form work in the writing process, but it's just very time consuming for the teacher. And what they need is a model for what they should be looking for in their writing, just like they need a model to get started. And then they need a way to understand what your marks are. Proofreading symbols help the class to understand when they get writing back. If there's an S above a word, that means that there's a spelling error they need to address. If there's a verb tense error, there's T. If the language is awkward, you'll see AWK. And then of course there's good point. There's also writing responses to what the students say. So all these things would keep a student engaged. Rubrics. This is a way that they're talking about, again, the title being Keeping Your Head Above Water. The rubric will help a teacher to be fair in their grading, to be grading very consistently about the same thing, and also helps the students to know what they're writing to. So it's a way of making the grading process or the evaluation process efficient and give the students a roadmap for what they want. And that's managing the load. One last thing that I want to cover is fostering quality instead of quantity. That's a really key point that they bring up. A lot of students think that if you give them a 2-page assignment, if they give you 5 pages, no matter what the quality is, it's going to get a better grade because they did so much work on it, right? But what we want to do is help students to understand that quality is more important than quantity. So tight, concise arguments and clean grammar are all very important. And to encourage students that their goal is to write in quality, not in quantity. This is talking about opening the classroom for a creative environment. I encourage you to look through this resource if you're interested in writing instruction for students who are learning English as a foreign language and doing it successfully. This has been a great resource for me, and I'm thankful I had a chance to tell you about it. And so let me go ahead and stop the share. And I look forward to another opportunity to share more about teaching writing or teaching English as a foreign language. Thank you very much and have a great day.